Hello and welcome to episode number 9 of the Local Lowdown. My name is Zach Bischoff, and I am, as always, joined by.
Danny Shanholzer.
All right, thank you very much, Danny. All right, today we're going to be talking about there it is, the NFL news and notes for preseason week number 1. We're going to preview week number 2 as well, which is which actually started last night when you're listening to this. We're recording this on Thursday. You're going to see it on or no, what is it? Friday? No, it's Friday. We're gonna air this on Saturday afternoon, and then we're going to talk about the Pirates and then the Premier League. All right, Danny, your thoughts first on. Let's see, where do we want to go here? We want to go to the Steelers Week 2 matchup against the one and only home matchup of the 2023 NFL preseason at home against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, for sure, Zach. As always, great to be with you, and looking forward to talking some football here, man. Great time of year here.
Yes, sir.
No, Zach. I mean, obviously, we're coming off of in week 1 we played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and beat them by a score of 27-17. And Zach, I thought starting off with that game, I thought that was a really good game and pretty much exactly what you want in terms of a preseason game. I mean, I thought Kenny Pickett and the first team offense looked excellent, right? I mean, one drive, one touchdown. George Pickens, I've watched that juke that he had on that irrelevant Tampa Bay defender like 50 times because he just made him look absolutely silly. I mean, I mean, that is just super. That is just, I mean, that's just super encouraging to see. You know, I think Matt Canada has been under a lot of scrutiny, and you know, is the offense Canada proof, Zach? Only time will tell with that, obviously. But
Yes.
but I think that like I'm encouraged, and I know you don't necessarily game plan a ton for preseason games, so it may like you know it's not as structured as say a regular season game, but overall I was really encouraged. You know, all the receivers played well. I mean, Calvin Austin the third had a touchdown, first time for him being on the field. So it was awesome to see his 4.3 speed translate to the football field. So what I'm really looking forward to in game 2 here against the Bills is just seeing more of that carryover, right? And like one of the questions that I have, Zach, and I'm curious to your thoughts on that is, okay, Kenny Pickett played very, very well in the first preseason game, and I believe is slated to play to start the Bills game. How long do you think that he's going to play, Zach? Or how long would you want him in for?
Yeah, I think Pickett should play about maybe a quarter and a half. Let's just go the whole first team. I think they're going to get the first quarter, maybe quarter and a half, as I mentioned. I think that now that it's the second preseason game and there's only 3, that we really need to, get the first team offense going out there for longer periods of time. And I think that in the third game, I do think the first team is going to get the first, second, and um, half of the third, or either half or the whole third quarter. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Zach. I think I agree with the first part of that, man. I think that they're kind of everything I'm going to hear is they're kind of gonna view the second game against the Bills, who obviously are a really good defense. It's kind of a dress rehearsal for the offense. But if that goes well, Zach, I'll be super interested to see kind of what the um what the Steelers do there, because let's say they play the first half and they look great. I wouldn't necessarily play them the 3rd preseason game just
Mm-hmm.
because of injury risks, but obviously, you know, this is a team that's looking pretty healthy in terms of you know, how training camp went, which is very encouraging to see. There have been many major injuries, which is very encouraging. Another thing I'm just going to be curious to watch, Jack, is I feel like we always talk and always, you know, predict and think really critically about the offensive line. And when I first started watching football, I was like, oh man, the like being an offensive lineman has got to be so boring because you're only just your job is to keep the defensive end from getting the quarterback. But that is super important, Zach. As I've kind of progressed, I've realized the importance of that, and I am super intrigued to continue to watch Broderick Jones and Dan Moore battling out because Broderick Jones is obviously the first round pick of the Steelers, and from what everybody's been saying, um, he's super quick. He's super big. He's physical, but his technique has not been the greatest through camp. So I'm hopeful that the more that he plays, the more he can develop. I also do think that it is good that we're not, we have a veteran presence like Dan Moore to kind of show him the ropes and help him out. But I will be watching. How does the first team how does the first team offensive line look, and how does Mike Tomlin decide how long they're going to play as well? Are they going to, let's say, play an extra series um, than the first team? Or the skill position guys because they need more. I mean, I'm just going to be curious because you never know how it's going to go. I mean, you obviously hear stuff in camp, but obviously game action is a lot different. I'm also hopeful, Zach, that guys on the defense can play like Joey Porter Jr. Obviously, he missed last week's game because of an ankle injury. I'm really hopeful that he can play. Um, but I am overall really encouraged, Jack, because it does seem like we do have just some guys that have really had really good camps. I'm looking for that to hopefully continue in the preseason, and yeah, just looking forward to watching it all unfold, man.
All right. Next we are going to thank you, Jenny. Next we are going to talk about the Pirates and their recent stretch here. Danny, just your thoughts on the Pirates as we sit here today.
Yeah, Jack, for sure, man. Um, the Pirates to me, Zach, are almost getting easier to evaluate, but also tougher to evaluate. If that makes any sense,
It doesn't.
it probably yeah, it really doesn't. And I'm gonna try to do my best to explain. I just think that
Very
I
curious to hear your thoughts on this one.
yeah, I don't know because it's hard for me to say, um, obviously the Pirates have not been winning a lot of series recently. Obviously, tonight we get underway against the Minnesota Twins in Minnesota. Um, but the Pirates have not had a ton of series wins, right? They've
This is
been
pre-recorded.
what's
I think
that?
you said
So the Pirates are kind of tough to evaluate right here because here's the thing, right? We're playing a lot of these young guys, right? And a lot of these young guys are doing well. And I am glad that we are giving them experience because I mean, the more experience you get, the better that you're going to get. But if I'm Derek Sheldon and if I'm Ben Sherrington now, I kind of have a tough um a lot of tough decisions because right we obviously have a great farm system and we've brought up the likes of Henry Davis and Andy Rodriguez and all those guys, Leo Pagero, which that's been really good. Alakai Williams as well. So it's been good that the young guys are kind of getting some experience, but it's also hard because obviously we have a player, a pretty important college player that just got drafted number one overall to us in Paul Skeens. And Zach, the more and more that I watch Paul Skeens pitch, I think to myself, we need to get him up to the big leagues because he is just absolutely dominating in the fall league and in single A Bradenton, which has been awesome to see. But I think to myself, I really would like to see him this year. But to that same end, we've really kind of I, I would obviously not want to risk injury for Paul Skeens. So our player development staff has just really got to be smart here about how we manage Paul Skeens because obviously he's going to be hopefully an ace for our organization, Zach, in years to come. But we also need to be mindful that we got to take care of his arm because if he can't pitch, he can't help us win. So that's where it's like, when should we bring him up? I don't know. I want to see him as soon as possible, but I also want him to be careful of his arm and make sure we preserve that. If that makes any sense at all, Zach, I'm sure it really doesn't. But
That actually did kind of end up making sense in the end. Yes, I've here in the on the, I heard in the news recently that they are plan to bring excuse me, Skeens up to Double A as soon as this upcoming Friday, the 25th of August, up to Altoona. So I think that the pathway is there for Skeens to be up in the major leagues next year.
has it been weird to you, Zach, that from reports of both in the fall league that he was playing in and single A Bradenton, he's only thrown one inning. Is that at all weird to you, Zach, or are they just trying to preserve the arms? You think?
Um, I am really not sure what they're trying to do there. I mean,
Yeah, that's why I was kind of confused because obviously, you know, there's 9 innings, right? And he's
right.
a starting pitcher. So I'm maybe I'm missing if obviously he's pitched a ton going back to his college days and he just got drafted, but it'll be interesting to see kind of what his workload is through the minor leagues, and I think what they're trying to do is obviously make sure that he's not overusing his arm, which I think is appreciated. But
Hmm.
also, if he believe it in his first start, he threw 11 pitches in one inning, got 3 outs. 9 of those pitches were strikes, so he's
Yeah.
obviously still. It's not like he's struggling because of all the fatigue that he's got, which would definitely be understandable. But yeah, that's just been a little bit confusing to see. But I'm sure my hope is that he can work his way up here, obviously, and get to the big leagues as soon as possible with that because I think Pirates fans around the country want that to be the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the way I take that is that they realize that he is not going to be there long. So
Uh
I
huh.
think that I mean with the rumor that he's going up to Altoona
Yeah.
relatively soon, I think that is what they're trying to do is say that he is not going to be there um, very long. He is going to fly through the minor leagues. I feel
Right.
like um, so it'll be
And
good.
and that way he's not expending so much energy pitching against minor league talent when he
Yeah,
obviously can do well against major league talent. I mean, he's the number one pick for a reason, right?
yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he progresses and when he eventually does get up here. All right, next and finally, going to talk about the Premier League. I have done no research on this topic, so I hope Danny can come in and save me.
I got you, Zach. I got you, buddy. And like we talked about before last week's show, I believe we talked about how it was kind of crazy. The Premier League is has gotten underway as we're recording this, but was about to get underway last week. I always say time flies when you're having fun. So here we are, and it's a great time of year, um, in general, and looking forward to keeping up with the Premier League. Obviously, Zach, opening weekend. There's a lot to delve into here. Um, I think the two kind of biggest games, if you will, or games that kind of revealed the most to me was first Newcastle's 4-1 victory against Aston Villa. I thought that Newcastle, they will be in the Champions League this year, which is kind of crazy. Um, and all the credit in the world goes to the Newcastle management team and the Newcastle coaching staff. But Jack, Newcastle's always kind of been a middle of the pack team. So one of my biggest questions, if you will, was okay. Can Newcastle sustain that level of excellence that they showed all throughout last season? And they certainly did. They beat Aston Villa 4-1. They scored their first goal at 5 minutes in, I believe. So that was really really cool to see, and I'm just gonna just super intrigued to watch how Newcastle progresses. I think that they're gonna continue to kind of ride that hot streak because, as the commentator said, Newcastle is a sleeping giant that has just kind of awoken. So I'm really looking forward to that. Um, yeah, and as far as obviously Zach, I'm sure that you are aware, maybe not, of the Liverpool Chelsea tie, 1-1.
It's a draw, not a tie.
My sorry, that your soccer etiquette is way above my. I appreciate you there, my
I
friend.
can I can tell that you do not know your.
I know it is actually called soccer though, Zach, and not football.
Correct. In this country, it is.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
give
Yeah,
you
sure.
that. Continue.
All right. No, yeah. Um, obviously Liverpool and Chelsea drew 1-1. It was a draw, not a tie, as Zach so
Thrilling
helpfully pointed out.
analysis. I'm sorry.
What's that?
Thrilling analysis. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. I'm really delving into why. Yeah, a draw and a tie. Anyways,
This might go on the cutting room floor.
it was yeah, that tie it was the seventh straight tie that Chelsea and Liverpool had, which I thought was a really interesting and cool stat. Um, and it was, I mean, I thought that Liverpool controlled really the flow of the game. I mean, Mo Salah had a goal that was called back for offsides, which is obviously, Mo Salah is such a talented player. He burst on the scene with Egypt in the couple World Cups ago, but um, and then Chelsea did a heck of a job off of a corner, battling back and getting kind of a greasy goal, if you will, and tying it 1-1. And I was, it really really seemed like Liverpool really wanted to get off on the right foot because obviously we talked about this last podcast. Liverpool, last year was not up to their standard. They'll obviously be playing in the Europa League, which is kind of uncharted territory for Zach's Reds there. But
Indeed.
but yeah, Man U. Obviously, I feel like Man U is kind of a team that gets uh, a lot of doubters. Are always on Man U side, and they beat Wolves 1-0. So there weren't too many. I would say my biggest surprise result was that Newcastle game that we touched on earlier, just because of the drastic, drastic level that it was. Obviously, 4-1 is a huge difference in soccer there. and they were just able to really kind of break down Austinville in that second half. But yeah, Jack, I'm super. I haven't looked ahead too much to the games in week two, but I'm super intrigued to kind of see how what teams can kind of get going here, what teams can make runs, and what teams are kind of the will solidify themselves as contenders, man. No, Zach. Yeah, man. Just really appreciate you having me on, and always really enjoy talking sports with you, man. So appreciate everybody watching, listening, and yeah, thanks everybody.
All right, thank you very much for listening to the ninth edition of the Local Lowdown podcast. He as always, is Danny Sandholzer. I am Zach Bischoff, and we will see you next time right here on the Local Lowdown. What is it? Local Lowdown podcast.